Well, today I'm going to tell you about relative clauses. Here I wrote examples, but this is more than examples. I'm going to explain relative clauses to you from the point of view of syntax. So the first definition that I have here is one taken from Byber's book that says a relative clause is a post modifier in a noun phrase. Then we're going to see why we say that it is a post modifier in a noun phrase, serving to expand the meaning and specify the reference of the head noun. What does it mean? The reference. If I say, the man who came here yesterday is my father, the man who came here yesterday is the subject. Man is the head noun that is referred to here, and who came here yesterday is the post modifier to the head noun man. So it is the post modifier and it narrows down the reference of the head noun. What does it mean that it narrows down the reference? When I say man, I am referring to any man in the world. If I say the man who came here yesterday, it's that man, the man who came here yesterday, not any man. Then we're going to see more examples. So, it is introduced by a relativizer. Here they call it a relativizer. This is a vocabulary that we are not going to use. We are going to use other kind of vocabulary, but it means that it is a kind of subordinating conjunction that is relative at the same time, which has a grammatical role. What does it mean? Do you remember that in noun clauses, that word, for instance, in that noun clauses, the man, I know that he is here, that is a subordinate clause and it doesn't have any other role in the sentence. Or if or whether, they don't have any other roles in the sentence. This is not the same here. In the case of relative clauses, and in the same case with noun clauses, WH interrogative clauses and nominal relative clauses, in relative clauses, this kind of clause, the WH word has a role in the sentence. Later we are going to see that again. So it has a grammatical role, that is to say subject or direct object in the relative clause in addition to its linking function. The relativizer points back to its antecedent. What is the antecedent? In the sentence that I gave you before, the man who came here yesterday, man is the antecedent. That is to say, the head of the noun phrase. The noun phrase is in slanted bars. Here, this is a convention that they have in this book. The relativizer is underlined. So, he warned the public not to approach the men who are armed and dangerous. The system is that part of the world which we are interested in, and which we are investigating. So, relative clauses are discussed, and here they tell you where they are discussed. There are two kinds of relative clauses we had seen before in the big chart that I had made. There are defining and non-defining relative clauses. Defining relative clauses are the ones that precisely define the antecedent or narrow down the reference of the antecedent. Take this terminology very much into account. So, in speech, they form part of the same intonation pattern as the noun they modify. That is to say, I say, the man who came here yesterday, same intonation pattern, is my father. Now, if it were a non-defining relative clause, I would say, Peter, who is my father, came here yesterday. So there we have two different intonation patterns. Number two, in spelling, they are not separated by a comma. Number three, in meaning, they restrict the antecedent of the relative, which is an indeterminate noun. What does it mean? Let's go back to the sentence. The man who came here yesterday, if I say man, I am referring to any man. But when I say the man who came here yesterday, I am restricting the reference of man, and I am referring only to that man, the one who came here yesterday. So, here we've got house, the house where I was born. There are a lot of houses in the world, but the house where I was born restricts the reference of house. They are said to be essential to the meaning, essential to the meaning of the sentence. Essential, that is to say, when you say the man who came here yesterday is my father, the man is my father, you don't know what man if you don't say the man who came here yesterday, because precisely the antecedent is, as we have here, is not determined, or it has generic reference. So in syntax, they are introduced by a WH word or a that word. This word, a relativizer, has a function in the clause. The WH or that can be omitted unless it is the subject of the clause. For example, the book that she wrote is a bestseller, or you can say, the book she wrote is a bestseller. You can omit the word that in that case. But in the sentence, the book that became a bestseller is sold out, you can't say the book became a bestseller is sold out. Why? Because that here in this clause is the subject. A rule of thumb to realize this is that if that is followed by a pronoun, you can omit it, but if it is followed by a noun, you can't omit it because you need a subject for that noun. Let's look at some examples here. The man who came here yesterday is my father. It's my sentence. The house where we live, the house where we were born got burnt out last night. So here we've got the antecedent here is house. And so where we were born is the relative clause. And so it is a post modifier to house. The subject of the sentence is the house where we were born. That is the whole subject of the sentence. The antecedent is house. And where is the relativizer, or the word that introduces the relative clause? The man that I love lives in Barcelona. So what is the relative clause? That I love. What is the subject of the sentence? The man that I love. And so, can I omit that here? Yes, of course I can. This is a relative clause. This is the boy who broke the window. So who, when we have who as a relativizer, the antecedent has to be human or a higher animal. When I say higher animal, it may be a domestic animal, for example. And he always remembers the days when he was young. When we have when as a relativizer, the antecedent always has to refer to time. The same as for where as an antecedent, the antecedent, as a relativizer, the antecedent has to be a place. The reason why she came is unknown. So why is the relativizer, and generally we are going to have as the antecedent the word reason. Non-defining relative clauses. In speech, they have a separate intonation contour. What does it mean? When I say, Peter, who came here yesterday, is my father. So you say, Peter, who came here yesterday. The intonation contour is different. In spelling, they are separated by commas. In meaning, they add an idea to the already defined antecedent. When I say Peter, it's Peter. I know who Peter is. If I tell you Donald Trump, who is the President of the United States, is a very controversial person. So, Donald Trump, who is the president of the United States, you know who Donald Trump is. I don't need to tell you who Donald Trump is. So, what I may add later is extra, let's say. It's not essential for the meaning of the sentence. So we say that the antecedent has unique reference. Why? Because proper nouns have unique reference. It doesn't mean that you are always going to have a proper noun as the antecedent in a non-defining relative clause, but many times you will. They are not essential to the meaning of the sentence. The clauses give additional but not essential information. They may be left out without injury to the precise meaning of the word they are joined to, what I explained before with Donald Trump, with the Donald Trump example. And then the W8 word that introduces them cannot be replaced by that, and it cannot be omitted. That is to say, I can't say Donald Trump, the president of the United States, is a very controversial person. No, I can't say that. I have to say Donald Trump, who is the president of the United States, is a very controversial person. So here we've got some examples. Paris, you see, you've got a proper noun. Paris, which is one of the most beautiful cities in the world, is really expensive. Or my grandfather, here we don't have a proper noun, but my grandfather is there is only one, my grandfather, who is about to turn 87, goes swimming every day. Or the house, which was built in 1883, has just been opened to the public. In this case, we don't have a proper noun, but the sentence suggests that this house has been mentioned in the same chunk of discourse before. City Park, which we used to go to, has been closed down. It is very common to have the preposition at the end of the sentence of the clause. Sorry, we don't say in modern English City Park to which we used to go has been closed down. Maybe in times of Shakespeare they would say something like this, but we don't say something like that now. So go requires the preposition to, and the preposition to remains at the end of the clause. City Park, where we used to go. So the same sentence can be uttered in two or worded in two different ways, which we used to go to or where we used to go. The same goes for the next sentence. December, which Christmas is celebrated in, is a summer month for the Southern Hemisphere. Or December, when Christmas is celebrated. This is a much more common way of saying this. Is a summer month for the Southern Hemisphere. All right, now common clauses. Let's go to common clauses. What are they? They are non-defining relative clauses, but they are at the end of the sentence and that make a comment about what has just been said. For example, the award was given to Sarah, whose short story impressed the judges. Or Louis refused to go to the ceremony, which was a nasty thing to do. So you are making a comment on everything, on the clause that you mentioned before. So that is why it is a non-defining relative clause, but it is not between commas. It is after a comma and then you've got a full stop.